Ibrahim Traore is a strong character who is unwavering in his resolve to lead in a world where influence and power can promote jealousy and dishonesty. A struggle between deceit and truth breaks out as rumors of lies and defamation reverberate through the political corridors. Traore meets the attack with unyielding tenacity, aware that progress is fraught with difficulties. He stands tall in this dangerous environment, ready to take on those who would damage his name. This resilient leader is prepared to confront any challenge and will not let the flood of lies defeat him. So, in today's video, we will delve into the world of Ibrahim Traore, a man ready to face his adversaries head-on, armed with truth and an unyielding spirit. We will also see some of the media outlets Traore has suspended because of the frequent lies they spread. But before we continue, make sure you like this video and subscribe to the New Tourist channel to get first-hand information on whatever is going on in Burkina Faso and Africa as a whole. Burkina Faso on Tuesday suspended French broadcaster TV5 for 6 months for spreading disinformation. The communications regulator, CSC, accused the channel of spreading malicious insinuations and disinformation about the country's transitional government. It also hit TV5 with a fine of 50 million CFA francs, approximately $82,000. Note that France is doing all this just to stir up protests in Burkina Faso. The media outlet faced criticism from the communication regulator for having Newton Ahmed Berry, who headed the Election Commission from 2014 to 2021 and was critical of the military regime on board. Also note that several foreign news outlets, predominantly French, have been closed down temporarily or permanently since Captain Ibrahim Traore took over the country in a coup in September 2022. In April, the military government suspended BBC and Voice of America after broadcasting a report by Human Rights Watch that accused the military of terminating civilians. Take note that it also suspended TV5 for 2 weeks that same month for these very reasons. Human Rights Watch that the army had terminated over 223 people in areas where there were allegations of collaboration with militants, 56 of whom were minors. International media outlets, such as the Associated Press, covered the story extensively. The suspension reduced the BBC ability to reach audiences with independent and accurate news, but they said they will continue to report on the region in the public interest and without fear or favor. Additionally, the authorities in Burkina Faso ordered internet service providers to halt access to Voice of America, the BBC, and HRW websites and digital platforms. The authorities in Burkina Faso have previously shut down French radio and television channels and evicted correspondents from French newspapers, so TV5's suspension did represent an exceptional episode. The transitional government of Burkina Faso suspended all distribution of media associated with French news outlet Jeune Afrique in the country as of September 25th of last year. This suspension followed a previous article on the same website in which Jeune Afrique alleged that discontent was growing in Burkina Faso barracks. Also note that hundreds of Burkinabé protested outside the U.S. Embassy in Burkina Faso's capital Ouagadougou in May, against Washington's reaction to the Human Rights Watch accusations of the terminations. London and Washington jointly urged Ouagadougou to thoroughly investigate these massacres and hold those responsible to account. Shopkeepers and private sector employees marched towards the embassy mid-afternoon, screaming anti-imperialist slogans adorned with Russian and Burkinabé flags. The embassy was guarded by police who were on riot. Some of the questions people were asking themselves were, where were these human rights defenders when terrorists were terminating their populations? What were they doing? Mahamadou Ouedraogo, spokesman for the Liberation Federation of Pan-Africanists, which organized the demonstration, said, "We have come to deliver a message to the Americans to put an end to these accusations against our armed forces who are defending the country at the cost of their lives." Some people believe that Burkina Faso's journalists shouldn't have to deal with government censorship in addition to the difficulties of covering the nation's insecurity. The director of the Reporters Without Borders Sub-Saharan Africa Bureau, Sadibou Merong, said in April that these suspensions were another blow to press freedom in Burkina Faso. Are you wondering what he is going to say this time? We too are. Others are in support of this suspension. They believe some of these news outlets and TV stations go beyond what they ought to report. As all this is going on, things are becoming so tense in the country as Burkina Faso's military regime in power says it will extend its rule for 5 years under an accord adopted during national consultations. Colonel Moussa Diallo, the leader of the organizing committee of the national dialogue process, said the transition's duration is set at 60 months starting on July 2. He added that after the transition period is over, coup leader and acting President Ibrahim Traore will be free to compete in any election. Note that under the new charter, quotas will no longer be used to assign members of traditional parties seats in the assembly. Instead, patriotism will be deemed the only criterion for selecting deputies. The original charter stipulated a 21-month transition period to civilian administration with a July 1 deadline. However, Traore has often cautioned that elections would be challenging owing to the unstable security environment. It is okay to say that news outlets and some TV stations feel that false statements made by newsmakers are newsworthy, which is why they should publish them. It's an analogous defense to social media corporations' use of free speech to uphold the truthfulness of deceptive statements. Arguments such as this ignore the workings of our minds. People frequently accept claims because they align with their previous views, regardless of their veracity. And when they come across such assertions, they often exaggerate them, remember them, and spread them to other people. Careless reporting cannot be made up for with a little fact-checking. The idea that news organizations' fact-checking dramatically slows the spread of erroneous information is unsupported by evidence. When the uninformed do fact-check their opinions, they are rarely convinced that they are incorrect. The only effective strategy for news organizations to counteract misinformation is to reduce their input. The shift in news sources to social media has also made it easier for false information to circulate. Anyone with a social media account can create their own news outlet. For individuals and news organizations, getting noticed by as many people as possible is almost always the goal of airing news. Social media trends are not exactly even-keeled and well-researched news. For posts on popular websites, virality is largely dependent on outrage. Untrue information is distorted by out-of-context elements, and the share button makes it easy for false perceptions to spread quickly among a wide network of people. Ibrahim Traore is attempting to stop this from continuing. You will bear with us that on social media, false information can proliferate up to 10 times faster than true news. Corrections to explosive, false posts never receive the same number of views or credibility when they go viral. A follow-up correction is not as gripping, memorable, or loud as the initial fact that draws in listeners. In a competition between the factual but boring narrative and the exciting but fake story, the interesting story wins out. Our viewing of social media content is determined by an algorithm. The algorithm's job is to keep you online for as long as feasible. You will see more personalized adverts targeted at you the longer you use the network. This is the business paradigm that powers all of the major platforms. The algorithm chooses what to show you next based on information about you, such as the kinds of content you have liked and shared in the past, and the content creators whose work you are most likely to interact with, in an effort to keep you on the site longer. More posts that are similar to the ones you like and share will appear. However, the suspension of TV5 still raises questions about the independence of the press and information in Burkina Faso. Maintaining the principles of free speech and the public's right to unbiased news is essential, even though the administration claims that the suspension is necessary to protect national security. In a time when knowledge is critical for forming public opinion and keeping the powerful accountable, governments must create an atmosphere that promotes free speech and information sharing. The Burkinabe leaders can take several measures to ensure that TV stations in Burkina Faso exercise more caution. The government should review and reform media regulations to ensure they are fair, transparent, and in line with international standards. The Superior Council for Communication, which regulates media operations, should act independently and provide advance notice for its decisions. All final decisions should be subject to appeal before competent courts. Traore must provide equal treatment and protection of all news outlets, regardless of their nationality, concerning press freedom. It is best to refrain from taking discriminatory measures against particular foreign media outlets, like the suspensions of French media networks. Burkina Faso has to take action to shield media personnel from threats and acts of violence. There has been a rise in violence against journalists in recent years, whether it comes from the government or armed organizations. Leaders ought to denounce such behavior and see to it that those in charge are held accountable. These media outlets should try as much as possible to verify their facts before sharing vital information about the country. Only then shall we have some calm on this uprising case in Burkina Faso. Do you think other TV stations and news outlets are going to be more cautious due to these suspensions, or they are going to pick up from where the others left off? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Do not forget to like this video and subscribe to the new Tourist channel. Turn on notifications too so you get notified whenever we upload videos like this. Thanks for watching and see you in our next video.